Thank you, Chuck. Welcome to West Michigan's Morning News. Steve Kelly, Brett Makita, Rick Albin, Lauren Smith. Listen up. Those of you who are married or perhaps about to lower the boom on matrimony, a new study is out. Well, I thought there was some interesting good news out of this, that in like the last 50 years, the divorce rate really hasn't changed that much. Dr. David Henderson on the live line, a board-certified psychiatrist, owner of the Four Stones Collaborative Group in Dallas. Doc, but you want to talk about those occupations that have the highest and lowest divorce rates. Tell us more.
Absolutely. And again, thanks for having me on the program. I thought it was fascinating to look at the different occupations that were listed. It was interesting to me that actuaries was the number one in terms of the lowest divorce rate, and actuaries are all about risk management. And so I think probably the individuals that go into risk management to begin with have a certain personality style that they analyze things pretty closely, and they look at and assess risk in probably their personal lives as well as in their professional lives. So they had listed for also low divorce rates doctors and a lot of scientists. And I think you can see a little bit of a trend and a pattern there that the personalities of folks that tend to go into the professions that were listed have strong levels of commitment. Let's face it, the level of education required to become a scientist, to become a physician, is so intense, and you've got to have a lot of resolve. And I think there's certainly some of that that trickles over into a person's personal life and relationships. Now, it's not just personality factors, but I also think it's the job itself. So if you go to the other end of the spectrum and you look at the professions that have very high divorce rates, you'll see a lot of professions where there's instability within the job. So, for example, gaming managers at a casino or bartenders, flight attendants. These are professions where, one, there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of instability in terms of different locations, places, long hours. And so the job itself, I think, also is a factor in terms of what leads to a successful relationship or not. And then you also, I think, and this is one thing important to recognize, is you've got to look at the person who is marrying into the profession, so to speak. So what is the type of person that is interested in someone who is a doctor or an actuary or a scientist versus someone who ends up marrying a bartender, for example? What is the personality style? But I think really in the end, correlation is not causation. So I don't want people to be worried that, well, if I'm a bartender, that means I can't have a successful relationship. But really the most important thing is the level of commitment that you're willing to put into whatever it is that you do. And you want to make sure that you create a life for yourself that has as much stability as possible. And I think if you're doing that and you're practicing creating that environment for your own life, you're going to be successful more so than what the statistics say.
Does a radio or a television host show up anywhere on the list?
I don't see you guys on the list. They do have telemarketers on the list, and switchboard operators, but they don't say.
Yeah, we're kind of like switchboard operators.
That's right.
Exactly.
Dr. David,
I do think that for that profession, I think it's more the personal attributes of the individual that really make or break the relationship.
Oh, well, then we're just screwed. Dr. David Henderson, a board-certified psychiatrist, a pleasure this morning. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on the show.
The Radio News Time.